Central Park Lanes in East Boston. He is Ed Woodside from Saugus, Massachusetts. Ed has a high single of 184 and a high triple of 446. And his brother Kevin was on a couple of weeks ago as the #2 seed and lost his match, but he will try to carry forward the Woodside name in this match this afternoon. It is Steve Plante and Ed Woodside as we get ready for this afternoon's match. Come right back to Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire for Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We're right back after this. Well, we began our fifth ladder series with 5 hopefuls. We're down to 4, with Rich Clark being eliminated last week by Steve Plante, 396 to 339. Ed Woodside, the #3 seed, Joe Stella, #2, and Tom Morgan waiting at the top of the ladder. Steve Plante will be first to bowl this afternoon as we begin week 2 of our fifth ladder series. And Steve had a big week last week with a 396 triple. The triple strike jackpot for $1,000, $50 in additional bonus money, $1,050 overall in bonus money, and an opportunity to meet Ed Woodside here this afternoon. The irony of last week with Steve Plante getting a 10 box to start, Steve's triple strike coming against Rich Clark. Rich Clark was the last person to hit the triple strike jackpot, doing it last year. And Steve Plante's trying again. We have $500 in the triple strike jackpot. Now Ed Woodside. First time on television for Ed Woodside, and he begins with a half Worcester and a little grin. Ed rolled a 667 to gain the #3 seed. You've heard of the Morgan brothers over the years on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Now the Woodside brothers are making their mark as Ed starts out with a 7. Ed's brother Kevin was on a couple of weeks ago at the #2 seed. He lost to eventual ladder winner Gary Santora, 390 to 346. That's a good pocket shot, trying to bust up the split. The 5-pin wobbling. Ed is a sales associate at Macy's in downtown Boston. Works in the women's shoe department. He and Denise have been married for 13 years. They have 2 children, Michael 10 and Lauren 7. Bowls out of Central Park Lanes in East Boston, and he has a 10 box. Now Steve Plante working on a strike. Work on 2 strikes. It's deja vu all over again for Steve Plante. Watch it again. And here comes a $500 shot for Steve Plante. Missed the head pin. That time he was not on the head pin. And he will not get the bonus money unless the 5-pin kicks. Waiting for the wood to settle. So the double strike. And he falls short of bonus money. And he picks up a 10 box. Spread eagle for Ed Woodside. In addition to the bonus money and the right to advance last week, Steve Plante won a gift certificate, $50 gift certificate from Haverhill Beef in Haverhill, Massachusetts, as will today's winner, Joe Terrazzano, a terrific supporter of Candlepin Stars and Strikes. At Haverhill Beef in Merrimack, offers a complete line of top quality meats and poultry, cut just as you like them. marinated any way you like. Several different varieties of marinade are on display and available for you. And complete service, full service butcher shop at Haverhill Beef on Merrimack Street in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Stop by and say hi to Joe Terrazzano. And today's winner will receive a $50 gift certificate to Haverhill Beef. Well, butterflies for Ed Woodside at the outset, to be sure, and he trails by 30 pins after 4 boxes. Running into a bit of a buzzsaw and Steve Plante. And Steve threw that one away, missed the head pin. That one got away from him. Nancy Regan is here today, and Nancy handed me a copy of an article from the Boston Globe. March 27, 1964. Lynn Bowler's 220 sets world candlepin record. Donald Kelly, that's Nancy's brother, was 29 years old at the time. Rolled a 220 at the Malden Square Bowlodrome. And the copy of the string is here. Started out with a triple strike, then a spare, then a strike, another spare, and only open frame was a 10 box. And he closed with a triple strike for a 220 candlepin string. Now, just recently, as I understand it, a 245 was sanctioned as the high candlepin string. It was sanctioned well after the fact from when the string took place, and there's some controversy surrounding it. I'm not sure of all the details, but as I understand it, a 245 is now the highest sanctioned string in candlepin bowling. Which is unbelievable. I mean, that's just beyond comprehension. A 245. 220 is remarkable enough, but a 245. There's Ed Woodside loosening up. There go some butterflies as well. A strike for Ed Woodside, his first mark. Very emphatic mark in box number 5 of the first string. Now he tries to double up. 2 in a row for Ed Woodside. He'll be looking at $500 the next time he steps to the line. 2 nice strikes for Ed Woodside and puts him right back in the match. Here's Steve Plante on lane 34. In the pocket, a solid 5-pin. Everything around it went, and the 5-pin still stands. You wonder how that's possible. He missed the spare. After every match, our bonus ball contest has been enhanced for the next several weeks. Our first card out, we will match with the winning bowler and give a lucky viewer at home a chance to win some bonus money or a consolation prize from N&R Trophies in Winchendon, Massachusetts. The second card out wins 10 free strings of bowling from Leda Lanes here in Nashua. And the third card out will win a cruise to nowhere, courtesy of the Travel Connection of Plastow, New Hampshire. Call 603-382-5330 for all the details. These cruises begin departing Boston on May 31st, and they run through September. Every Friday night they depart at 7, returning to Boston Sunday at 5. This is an all-inclusive trip. Includes entertainment, lodging, and food, and the casino that opens once you hit international waters. And you have to know that the Travel Connection of Plastow will meet or beat any price on this cruise. Here's triple strike for Ed Woodside, $500. Ed Woodside, 3 strikes in a row, $500 for Ed Woodside in his first ever appearance on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. How about that? Now for another one. This would have been worth another $500. How about that? 3 strikes in a row, 2 weeks in a row. What are the chances of that happening? And he missed the spare. Costly miss. And he will take an 8-box. have a horse race. Steve Plante working on a spare. Put 6 in the spare. Ed Woodside was down 40 pins after 4 boxes, down 30 pins after 4 boxes. Now he's ahead by 10 pins. Steve Plante tried to slide the 3-pin over to the 7 and just missed it. And a 9 box. I was so wrapped up telling you about the cruise to nowhere, almost missed the triple strike from Ed Woodside. 2 exciting happenings on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. The exciting cruise to nowhere and from Travel Connection of Plasto, and 3 strikes in a row. Steve Plante in the pocket. 6-pin won't listen. Still stands. The wood rolling to the left becomes a factor if it rolls back to the right, but it's going all the way off to the side. 6-pin there by itself. Steve missed the spare. Didn't miss it by much. He is at 122. And a 123 first string for Steve Plante. Now Ed Woodside. After generating some excitement, threw that one away. I mentioned at the start of the telecast this afternoon that it would be hard to match the excitement that Steve Plante generated last week with his triple strike. And son of a gun, don't you know, Ed Woodside turns around and does it himself. That'll be an 8 box for Ed Woodside. He's at 122. We're going to have a close match going to the middle string of our 3-string competition. On the head pin, broke up the split to the left, but now still has the 9 and the 10. Both wobbling, both still standing. Tough shot. Has to bank one off the wall and get some help. Bounced it down and took the 10-pin. He is at 131. 132 first string for Ed Woodside. A 9-pin lead for Woodside over Steve Plante. Headed to string number 2. Terrific match underway as Candlepin Stars and Strikes continues from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on WNDS TV. Ed Woodside is first to bowl in string number 2, and he carries a 9-pin lead with him. 132 to 123 after 1 string of play, and Ed Woodside has $575 in bonus money in the bank. $50 for 3 marks in a row, and the triple strike jackpot was actually $525, carried over from last week. Steve Plante hit the jackpot for $1,000 last week. The jackpot went back to $500 for the remainder of that match and increased to $525 for the next match, and that's what it was this afternoon. Now it's back to $500, and look at that. How about that for a delayed reaction? 10 blocks for Ed Woodside to start out the 2nd string. This time in the pocket. How quickly it changes through the first 4 boxes from the first string. Ed Woodside had 32, a 7, a 10, a 7, and an 8, and looked like he was really having trouble getting acclimated to the TV lights. And then all of a sudden, 3 strikes in a row from out of nowhere, and a 132 string and a 9-pin lead over Steve Plante. Incredible. And he starts the 2nd string with a pair of 10s. Here's Steve Plante, the lefty from Manchester. 9-pin drop with the first ball. If you're just joining us, Mike Morin is not with us for this ladder series. Mike out with an illness requiring minor surgery. He is fine, sends his regards, wishes he could be here, but will be rejoining us for our next series next month. And he'll put 6 in the mark. Some cynics among us felt that Mike Morin stayed away because he was afraid that I would confront him and challenge him to a head-to-head match during this taping series, and he wanted no part of it. But that's just for the cynics among us. We will have that head-to-head match at some point. You can't run forever, Michael. Ed Woodside, a 7 with the first ball, and Wood moving into place, setting up a possible spare. Well, how about that? He took the 2 and the 10 and left the 4 pin. $10 for Ed Woodside. Nice note from Joe Carey from Lynn, Massachusetts, as Ed tries to break up the split and is not successful in doing it. And a tough shot here. Joe Carey writes he wants to congratulate us on the bowling show. He and his wife watch it every Saturday and Sunday. His brother and sister from Somerville also watch, so if they miss, they can call each other and let each other know who won. His wife and I are from Lynn, and they're Tom and Mike Morgan fans. Of course, Tom Morgan, the #1 seed in this ladder series. Lynn's a great city of bowlers, as we know. And what he's writing about, have we ever heard of Boston pins? When he was a kid, he worked as a pin setter at the Boston City Club in Boston. It was behind the State House. The pins were a little wider than the Candlepins, but they looked like Candlepins. Also, they had no deadwood. Another thing, they had a foot pedal. They had to step on the foot pedal, and 10 spikes would come up, and they'd have to set the pins into the spikes. So the pins would always be lined up perfect. I never heard of that. That was about 1942. Before that, he worked at a bowling alley on Broadway in Somerville. Steve Plante. Looks at a tough shot here. The 6, the 7, and the 10 with some wood. The 6 and the 10 go. The 7 still stands. It's a 9 box for Steve Plante. I never heard of that, Joe. That's the first time I'm hearing about spikes coming up. And he also bowled at Gus's bowling alley, and he was about 12 or 13 at the time. He got about 3 cents a string setting up pins. And he had a 90 average. And asks if we ever heard of the Boston pins. Pins had a hole on both ends, so the pins would go into the spikes. Here's Steve Plante with a nice mark as we head to the break. Steve Plante's second mark of the second string as he fights back to take the lead. And he now has the lead in the match over Ed Woodside as we come back to Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on WNDS-TV. Every week we have our bonus ball contest. At the end of every match, a chance for you to be involved. Send in your postcard with your name, address, pick a number, strike through 10, and mail it to Leda Lanes, 340 Amherst Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063. And in addition, we're giving away the Cruise to Nowhere as part of the bonus ball contest every week now, courtesy of the Travel Connection of Plastow, New Hampshire. More about that coming up. But we're ready to go, and Ed Woodside will lead us off in our second string. Or really, as we get back into the second string, we're halfway through the second string, and Ed Woodside will pick it up in box number 5. The bonus ball contest after every match. We have a cash prize, which now is at $20. We have a consolation prize from N&R Trophies in Winchendon, Massachusetts. We have 10 free strings of bowling from the nice people here at Leda Lanes, and Ed Woodside with a 10 box. And the newest addition to the bonus ball contest jackpot is the Cruise to Nowhere, courtesy of the Travel Connection of Plastow, New Hampshire, 603-382-5330. They'll meet or beat any price make sure you stop in and talk to the folks at the Travel Connection. Find out about the Cruise to Nowhere. These cruises start May 31st, leaving from Boston, and they run through September. Another 10 box for Ed Woodside. He remains markless here in the second string. The only marks he has in the match, 3 strikes in a row in the first string. Now Steve Plante threw one in the gutter. Haven't seen that. He lost control of that one. And you'll reset the pins because the ball came up and kicked off a pin. So that one got away from Steve. That's a spare with no count. How often do you see that? You don't see it happen very often, do you? So here's Steve Plante. That's his second ball of the box, and he'll have to bounce back from that one. Steve has a pretty good sense of humor, though, when it comes to stuff like that. He'll be talking about it afterwards, and he finishes with an 8 box. I said going into the break that Steve was going to take the lead in the match, but that was assuming he'd have a count in the spare. There's a spare for Steve Plante. That'll take back a little bit of the pain. That's a terrific shot right there. Steve Plante makes a very difficult spare. Sends the wood over nicely. Now Ed Woodside needs to mark now. As Steve Plante is coming from behind to take the lead in this match. Ed Woodside, will he pick it up? Tries to slide it over, not successfully. And that'll be a 10 box for Ed Woodside, his third 10 in a row, his 6th 10 in 7 boxes. The only other box was an 8. Ed needs a mark. Not going to get a good setup here. He's got the 1, the 3, the 4, and the 7. He got it. Terrific shot for Ed Woodside. Didn't get it the first time, but the pin came all the way across after hitting the sidewall and took out the 7 pin. That's a very important mark for Ed Woodside right there. And great work by our crew to get it for you. As Steve Plante works on a spare. The crowd's trying to root it over. There it goes. Will any more of them go? The wood sets up out front. All the action of Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV, made possible by our crew, directed by Ken Knight. And there's the slow motion spare. Working on audio is Dave Hand. Our tape machine manned by Dave McCarthy. On computer graphics, Larry Taylor. And video is handled by Paul Hunter. Our camera crew of Bob Dold, Jim McLean, and Jeff Garcia, all working here at Leda Lanes, making it all possible for you to watch Candlepin Stars and Strikes each and every week on WNDS TV. We have fun, but it's not all fun and games. There's a lot of hard work involved getting it set up and getting it sent to you, and they do a great job at carrying it off every week. No bonus money, no spare for Steve Plante. And a 10 box. He's at 97. Ed Woodside steps to lane 34, working on a spare. He will put 7 in the spare. Not a great shot, not on the head pin, but he ended up with a pretty good count. Not going to make the spare. We're setting up for a pretty tight match going to the third string. 9 box for Ed Woodside. He's at 94. Just missed the head pin. Leaves the 4 horsemen on the left side. The 1, the 2, the 4, and the 7. He is at 103. And that's what it is, 103 for Ed Woodside in the second string. Steve Plante, a chance to take a significant lead to the third string if he can put a couple of marks together here on the head pin, but a tough shot remains. He has the 3, the 5, and the 9. And now the 5 and the 9 still remain. The 3 pin is gone. And that'll be a 9 box for Steve. He's at 106 with a box to go. And unless Steve marks, it's going to be very tight going to the third string. Tough shot remains. The 1, 3, 6, and 7 with no wood. Punches the 1 out. So we're going to be very tight going to the third string. It's a 1-pin advantage now for Steve Plante. A 3-pin advantage for Steve Plante going to the third and final string in this match with Ed Woodside as we continue with Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire, and you're watching WNDS TV. Steve Plante will bowl first in string number 3 in a very tight match with Ed Woodside, 238 to 235. Plante with the lead. Woodside led after 132 to 123. Can he get that 10-pin over? It's going to stand. Wood on the deck all over the place. Steve Plante came back to take the lead, winning the second string 115 to 103. So the 3-pin advantage for Plante. There's the spare for Steve Plante to start out. Played it well. Watch it again. Played the wood perfectly. So he starts the third string with a mark. Puts 4 in the spare with a spread eagle. Right on the head pin. Literally right on the head pin. 2 full. Two on the right go. I want to acknowledge the help that we're getting from Sean Howard, the manager of the house here at Leda Lanes. He's filling in for Mike Moran, working the computer scoreboard that you watch and fills you in on what's going on. There you see the computer graphics right in front of you, and the work of Sean Howard is the result. Here's Ed Woodside on the first ball of his third string. And Sean not able to convert the spare. Or Ed Woodside not able to convert the spare. This is Sean sitting next to me. Get the names straightened out. A 10 box for Ed Woodside. If you like Chinese food, I'd encourage you to stop by the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge next time you visit Leda Lanes or next time you're shopping in the Nashua area. The Kahala is right next door to Leda Lanes at 350 Amherst Street, Route 101A in Nashua, New Hampshire. They have a terrific buffet. The lunch buffet every Monday through Saturday from 11:45 to 2 is just $5.95, and it's all you care to eat. The dinner buffet, $8.95, Thursdays from 5 to 8 and Sundays from noon to 8 p.m. So if you're watching this show on a Sunday at noontime when the show is over, head on out to the Kahala and spend the rest of the afternoon there. You will enjoy delicious Chinese food served by some very nice people in a wonderful atmosphere. You'll enjoy your next visit to the Kahala Chinese Restaurant and Lounge, 350 Amherst Street in Nashua, right next door to Leda Lanes. Steve Plante, box number 3. He's added a pin to his lead. He leads by 4. Can't pick up the spare. Put it right where he wanted and could not get it to go. That'll be a 9-box for Steve Plante. Missed the head pin. Leaves the 1, the 3, and the 6. No wood. The southpaw will come right at it from left to right. And there it goes. Second mark of the 3rd string for Steve Plante. He really wasn't able to take advantage of the first one with just 4 in the spare and a 6-box that followed. Now Ed Woodside tries to match it. The 6 and the 9 with some wood in between. The key here is hitting the 6 pin. Must hit the 6 pin. Missed the 6 pin. That one was a costly miss for Ed Woodside. That's what he had to do the first time around. Now he's up against a Steve Plante spare in the 4th frame. Four horsemen on the left side with a piece of wood behind that should be no factor, I do believe. And he picks 1 off the head pin. So he'll be open for the first 4 frames of the 3rd string. And Steve Plante has added to the leads. Plante with the lead as we go to the break. 6 boxes remain in this second match of our 5th ladder series on Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Lido Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on WNBS TV. Steve Plante working on a spare. Has a 3-pin lead plus whatever he gets on this ball will be his lead in the match with 6 boxes remaining. So the lead is 9 as he has 6 on the spare. Certainly not an insurmountable lead for Ed Woodside to overcome if he could put a couple of marks back to back. Plante picks up the spare. Held on to it a little longer than he wanted to as it was airborne for a little longer than he wanted, but managed to pick up the spare. In the spare, he'll put 6 with a second pocket hit. And this is a $50 shot coming up for Steve Plante. 3 marks in a row is worth $50. And he will not get it. Steve is 34 years old. Picks up a 10-box. Bowled in the 1996 Tournament of Champions, which was cut short at the time. Here's Ed Woodside needing some marks. Can't pick up the spare. The sleeper pin behind him, the 8-pin, was costly. Well, he's missed a couple of tough spares. Another 10-box. Again, through 5 boxes, he has 4 10s and a 9. Needs some marks. Threw that one to the second pocket. Didn't get much of a break. Missed the head pin. Leaves the head pin. It's the only pin still standing. Another 10-box for Ed Woodside. And a 15-pin lead for Steve Plante with 4 boxes remaining. got away from Steve. Pins move around, but they don't fall down. Steve is in sales for Frito-Lay, and he scatters the pins all across the deck, but the 7 and the 10 still stand. He and his bride of 12 years, Brenda, have a daughter, Amanda, 7 years old. A 9-box for Steve Plante. He was in the '99 Tournament of Champions. Throws a pocket shot, leaves 1 pin, and checks out the wood. Wood is certainly a factor. Did not pick up the spare. A 9-box for Steve Plante. The door open for Ed Woodside, who is looking for his first mark of the 3rd string. Ed had 3 marks in the 1st string. They were all strikes, and they were back to back to back. 1 spare in the 2nd string, and no marks here in the 3rd string. And now he has an opportunity with the 4 and the 7 standing, wood in front. Just did make the shot. A little bit of a heartbeat there for Ed Woodside as the ball was headed to the gutter on the left side, but it caught the dead wood before it hit the channel. Now on the spare. He'll put 9 in the spare, and another spare opportunity for Ed Woodside and a chance to take the lead in the match. Spare for Ed Woodside. So it's fingernail biting time at Leda Lanes. We have a virtual tie. Steve Plante missing the head pin. Tries to bust up the split. And he has the 3, the 6, and the 10 with wood on the right. The 8 pin stands to the left. The important shot for Steve Plante right here. The 10 pin still stands. He's going to need a mark in the last frame. That'll be a 9-box for Steve Plante. He's going to need a mark right here. So Ed Woodside has come from behind. Steve Plante puts a 9 drop, and the wood is problematic. Very problematic the way that wood is set up right now. He has to cap it and hope for the best. Not much you can do about it. It's in a very difficult spot, and he missed it. That's what would have happened if he played it the first time, the way a lot of people thought he should have played it. 9-box, a 106. 344 for Steve Plante. Now Ed Woodside really needs a good count and a couple of decent balls. He puts only 3 in the spare. Match is dead even. And he's going to need to get 2 of these pins, or he'll need a mark in the 10th frame. He gets none. A 7-box. Well, Ed Woodside needs a mark. It's an 11-pin lead for Steve Plante. 1 box remaining. He needs a mark to win. A mark wins for Woodside. And he's got a tough shot. The 2 and the 7 still stand. He needs to make this shot to win the match. Doesn't make it, doesn't win. He's got it. Clutch spare for Ed Woodside. Now he needs 1 to tie, 2 to win. 1 to tie, 2 to win. There it is. Ed Woodside is the winner. Just barely. Ed Woodside wins by 3 pins, 347 to 344. A terrific finish as Woodside will advance. He'll climb the ladder to face our second seed Joe Stella next week. We'll come back to meet our bowlers at Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire right after this on WNDS TV.
Well, another chance to give away bonus money of the triple strike jackpot, and we did it again 2 weeks in a row. Doesn't happen very often. Last week, Steve Plante. This week, Ed Woodside. We're breaking the bank, giving away the money on the triple strike jackpot, and happy to do it. But first, let's bring up the runner-up this week, Steve Plante. Steve, check for $175 for being runner-up. You had the big payday last week. Also, all the bowlers participating in this ladder series are getting a copy of Candlepin Bowling 2. It's by Jim Fairhurst from Alamogordo, New Mexico, and a copy of that for you, and everybody in the ladder series will get one of those. And you had the same feeling last week of hitting the triple strike jackpot that Ed Woodside had this week. What's that feeling like?
It's a sinking feeling because it makes it hard to come back, you know, when they throw a triple. And but, you know, he did well with it, and I'm happy for him. It's good.
Well, you had a great payday last week, and we look forward to seeing you again on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Steve Plante from Manchester, New Hampshire, our runner-up here this afternoon. And now Ed Woodside will roll a ball, and we'll try to match him up with a winner at home. And you hear the crowd here rooting him on, and it is a 7. And let's reach into the bucket here and see if we can pull out a winning card and match it up with a contestant from home. And this is Mr. Charles Dabrowski from Salem, New Hampshire. Charles picked 8. That's a consolation prize for Charles Dabrowski from N&R Trophies in Winchendon, Massachusetts. The second card that'll come out will be for 10 free strings of bowling here at Leda Lanes, and this is Martha Gaudas from Bedford, New Hampshire, gets 10 free strings of bowling. And now the Cruise to Nowhere from the Travel Connection in Plastow, New Hampshire. The new prize that's been added to our bonus ball contest. Let's reach deep down into the bucket and pull out a card, and this is Thelma Adams from Milford, New Hampshire, wins the Cruise to Nowhere from the Travel Connection in Plastow, New Hampshire. Congratulations to Thelma. Let's bring on Ed Woodside. Ed, come on up. Got some money to give you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, here we go. 3 marks in a row is worth $50. The fact that they were strikes happens to make the check worth $575 for Ed Woodside for a triple strike jackpot. Now, you were off to a little bit of a slow start, a little perhaps feeling the butterflies of the first time on TV, I suspect, but the triple strike seemed to loosen you up a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little nervous. The triple strike went so fast, I didn't even realize it till I was in the other alley, so it was just
What's
good.
it feel like knowing, you know, when you come into the line, you've got 2 strikes, what's going through your mind?
I really didn't even think about it. I just said throw a good ball, and it happened. I was lucky.
Well, a lot of luck plays into it, but you have to have that ball in the headpin, and that certainly is a factor as well. The Woodside brothers, the bowling tandem. Talk about that for a minute and the competition between you and your brother.
Well, we usually bowl together. There's not but I couldn't let him have one up on me and get on the show and me not be on the show, so.
First time on TV, was it what you expected that it would be with the lights
Yeah.
and the fans here watching?
Yeah, it's about the same. I came and Joey Stella's my buddy, and I watched him a couple of times, and of course my brother, so. You know.
Joey Stella's your buddy. You got him next.
I know I do. I know, I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be a fun match. We'll look forward to it too. Ed, thanks very much. Congratulations to you. Ed Woodside, our winner here this afternoon. And that sets up next week's match as we climb the ladder to the second seed. It'll be number 3, Ed Woodside, taking on number 2, Joe Stella. And we'll look forward to seeing you here for that. Thanks for being with us from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. For Mike Moran, who couldn't be with us, I'm Dick Lutz. We'll see you next time on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. So long, everybody.